What's up, everyone? My name is Thomas.
I'm Wesley.
And welcome to Film Fanatics. Today, we're going to be discussing our favorite movies, our top 5 each favorite movies. So I figured, since that we are, a movie channel after all, we may as well give you guys our general taste in movies and what our favorite movies are. So I felt that was the best way to kind of show you guys what we like, is to just make a list format of our favorite movies. Makes sense to me. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. We're doing top 5 each. We're gonna be taking turns on our top 5, so you get 10 total movies, and you also get some honorable mentions thrown in there. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So starting my list off at number 5, we have The Dark Knight, directed by Christopher Nolan. It's got Heath Ledger, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Aaron Eckhart in it. And it's just an incredible film. I'm sure most of you have seen this, but if you have not, it is a Batman film. It's by, obviously, like I said, Christopher Nolan. His trilogy is probably, I'm not even going to say probably, for me, it's definitely the best Batman trilogy ever, and I believe The Dark Knight is the best installment of this. I'm a huge Batman fan, so obviously I'm going to love these movies. The whole dynamic with Batman fighting the Joker and going toe-to-toe with the Joker and them trying to figure out each other. It's just, it's such a good movie. The whole premise is Bruce Wayne, Batman, going up against Joker and I almost said Heath Ledger, and Two-Face in a very dark, grimy, crime-ridden, dilapidated Gotham. It's very dark, I'd say very realistic to what you think Gotham would be in real life. It separates itself from even like the Michael Keaton Batman series, in which it's still kind of comical, and it's a drama, action, thriller movie that has superheroes in it. It's kind of a character study of Bruce Wayne and how that all goes. I don't know, it's such a good story. Christopher Nolan definitely did an amazing job with this. So since the movie is directed by Christopher Nolan, obviously it looks amazing. Shot composition, just the shots themselves, the look of the movie, the tone, everything, sound design, everything. It's just such a good movie to me. It has this very special place in my heart. And that is why I have put this on the number 5 spot on my top 5 movies list.
Alright, my number 5 is going to be Taxi Driver. Starring Robert De Niro and Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster, of course, starring in one of her more earlier roles as Iris, a young female prostitute, and De Niro starring as, the taxi driver, Travis Bickle. And the movie's directed by Martin Scorsese. I just think Scorsese's cinematography in this film is just phenomenal. It really delves into the human psyche just to show how far one human being in general can really go, just how depressed one can get and how lonely someone can be. And the premise of the story really is Travis Bickle, De Niro's character, comes back from the war, and he gets a job as a taxi driver, and it really just kind of it goes all downhill there from him. He finds the girl. She, I'm not going to spoil too much, but ends up kind of rejecting him, and it's just all downhill from there, and just really kind of drives him mad. But all in all, it's a great film, a great story. I love the acting. Of course, one of De Niro's most famous or more iconic roles with "Are You Talking to Me" line. And again, I'm really repetitive, but I just think it's a great film. Yeah, that's my number 5, Taxi Driver. Check it out if you haven't. Okay, so my number 4 movie is gonna have to be Francis Ford Coppola's masterpiece, The Godfather. Starring Marlon Brando and Al Pacino as the lead characters in some of their most iconic roles to date. And, of course, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Some great cinematography done by Francis Ford Coppola. I adored this film with all my heart. It's the epitome of a good classic gangster film. Constant power struggle between two mafia families, or multiple mafia families, really. And also it just shows how the bloodlines work in the mafia. It really just goes into the mob as a whole. And Francis Ford Coppola really just puts Mario Puzo's words to life. Of course, The Godfather was originally a novel written by Mario Puzo, who Francis Ford Coppola actually consulted during the making of the film. And it's a phenomenal film, the epitome of a gangster film. And yeah, if you haven't, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it. If you haven't seen it, I really suggest you go check it out. The Godfather, it's incredible.
All right, my number 4 spot goes to Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, directed by Alejandro G. Inarritu. It stars Michael Keaton, Edward Norton, Emma Stone. And Birdman, if you have not seen it, I highly recommend it, obviously. It is about a washed-up superhero played by Michael Keaton, who is trying to write a play and get a play on Broadway. And it's a very interesting concept for a movie. They play it off incredibly well. They hire the actors in this are amazing. It really, the movie really works. I don't want to give away much, so that way you actually do go watch the film. But it's an incredible movie, in my opinion. Incredible story about really a character study in some points about Michael Keaton's character. And I think it is quite somewhat ironic, I guess, that they cast Michael Keaton to play this role, as he used to play Batman, and up until recently has not been seen in very many films. So it was just a great performance by Michael Keaton. It was just really incredible. And this movie, what I really like about it is that it feels like one take. This is done on purpose. You can tell where they might cut some shots, but it can be very difficult to tell. So it just all looks like one continuous shot throughout the entire film. They pull this off amazingly. I don't see how they did it. It's so good. So from the amazing story to the amazing way this thing was shot to everything just coming together, it forms an incredible movie, and that's why I put it at number 4 on my list. Earning my number 3 spot goes to Pulp Fiction, directed by Quentin Tarantino. You all know him. And I'm sure all of you movie buffs have seen Pulp Fiction. Even if you're not a movie buff, you've probably seen Pulp Fiction. Incredible movie. Samuel L. Jackson, Tarantino staple. You got John Travolta, Uma Thurman, Bruce Willis. It's just a star-studded cast. A classic Tarantino cast, if I must say. And it's Tarantino. You know it's going to be good when you see Tarantino on it. I really credit this movie to being what got me into movies, or at least my start to it. The Dark Knight, like I said before, it did help me get into it more, but this initially started it, I do believe. I saw this on Netflix several years ago. It's such an interesting story. It's very hard to give you a plot synopsis of the movie without spoiling anything. It's about, I don't even have to really explain what it's about. Just go watch the movie. If you like gangsters, if you like crime, if you like amazing dialogue. Now, Quentin Tarantino, an amazing director. So obviously everything about this movie is incredible, especially the dialogue. He writes all of his films, in case you didn't know. And his staple for what it makes a Tarantino movie instead of any other action movie is the dialogue in it. Not a lot of films, period, nail dialogue to any sort of standard that Tarantino does. It's just, he can make anything interesting. He can make a conversation with two rocks very incredibly interesting, and it's just that alone makes this movie so incredible. Just the dialogue, the way these characters interact, the way you feel connected to these characters. It's just such a great movie, and maybe I do have a little bit of bias as it got me into movies as to putting this on my number 3 spot, but I feel that it well deserves its spot at number 3, Pulp Fiction. Go check it out.
My number 3 is going to have to be Stanley Kubrick's 1971 masterpiece, A Clockwork Orange. Words can't describe really how much I'm in love with this film. Stanley Kubrick is my hero when it comes to films and filmmaking. And, of course, it stars Malcolm McDowell. It also has has a role played by David Prowse, who, ironically enough, plays Darth Vader. And the only reason he got the role was because in his resume, he was stated as working with Stanley Kubrick in this film. And that just goes to show how much influence Kubrick had in the cinema world and the world of movie making and as a director. Basic premise of the story is Alex DeLarge. He's sort of a gang leader. Him and a few friends. It's said to not set in the past, future, or present, just in simply a time where anarchy rules. And It really is a good reflection on life. It's a dystopian society displayed to perfection, might I add. Malcolm McDowell, of course, probably his most iconic role as Alex DeLarge. Great acting, one of my favorite film characters of all time. By the end of the film, you don't know who to trust. You don't know who's good, who's bad. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a phenomenal film. I absolutely adore it to death. A Clockwork Orange. If you haven't seen it or heard of it, go check it out immediately, as soon as you can. My number 2 pick's got to go to Quentin Tarantino's World War II classic, Inglourious Basterds. I say it's a classic. It's relatively new-ish. It was made in 2009. It's got Brad Pitt, Christoph Waltz, Melanie Laurent, and the acting in this film is so phenomenal. Again, going back to Thomas's statement, Quentin Tarantino could make two rocks have a conversation, and it could be just the most captivating thing. I think he really shows that in Inglourious Basterds. Not only is the story great, it's very intriguing. It's a good character study of Brad Pitt's character, his group, the Bastards. Just a little premise of the story. It's World War II. The Nazis, of course, are hunting up all the Jews left that have not been killed or relocated to concentration camps. And Melanie Laurent's character, Shoshana Dreyfus, manages to escape. And it's real. Again, goes back to Pulp Fiction. It's a few stories intertwined. It's perfectly done. Tarantino himself has stated this as being his greatest contribution to cinema. I could honestly say that this is his best film to date. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think it's an incredible film. It's very entertaining. I've seen it about 3 or 4 times, and I can't get enough of it. It's an incredible film, Inglourious Basterds.
All right, earning my number 2 spot is Django Unchained, another Tarantino film. Obviously, if you can't tell, I love Quentin Tarantino. He's an incredible director, and this film, without a doubt, is by no means disappointing to his standards. It's such a amazing Western. I'm not usually a Western fan. I usually find them fairly boring, kind of lull a little bit. But with Tarantino at the helm of this Western film, it is by far one of my favorite films. And it was my favorite film for a while, but it got knocked down by my number 1 spot a little while ago. So Django Unchained is about a slave named Django who is freed and rescued by Dr. Schultz, played by Christoph Waltz. And Dr. Schultz ends up being a bounty hunter who goes after and kills people, obviously, and he teaches Django how to kill. And they end up trying to find and rescue Django's wife at a notorious slave owner's house, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. It's a very, very entertaining film. That's mainly why it's number 2. It may not be the most technically amazing or whatever. I mean, obviously it's a very well shot film, well edited, don't get me wrong, but it's not really like Birdman, in which it's there's a special trick and everything is used. It's the dialogue, the story, the characters, the casting. That's what makes this movie so incredible. Just the entertainment you get from your usual Western or whatever, you get that, but you also get the dialogue and the character development of Tarantino. And there's almost no beating Tarantino's character development. You feel so connected to this character, Django, and you feel like you sympathize with him so much, and you just want him. You want him to win. You want him to be you want him to get his wife back, and it's just such an entertaining film. I've seen it 3 or 4 times at this point. It's so good. Good enough for me to rank it higher than Pulp Fiction. I know that might be a little bit of a stretch for some people to say, but I don't know. I find it incredibly entertaining. And that's why I've given Django Unchained my number 2 spot. All right, and my number 1 spot, my number 1 favorite movie that knocked Django Unchained from 1 to 2 is Whiplash. Whiplash, directed by Damien Chazelle. stars Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons, and it tells the story of Andrew, played by Miles Teller, a college student who is trying to become the best drummer out there, the best percussionist there is. And J.K. Simmons is his drill sergeant-esque director, also known as Fletcher in the movie. The movie really focuses around Andrew and Fletcher's relationship as it kind of grows in a sense. It really focuses on how Fletcher is being really drill sergeant-esque towards Andrew, and how Andrew's drive to be the best is either how it's affected, how his motive is affected, how he views himself is affected. And I think as a musician myself, I think it's a very good look into the determination of musicians to become the best. The movie definitely portrays Andrew as a hardworking individual who really wants this, and he's not going to let Fletcher stop him, or he's going to try his best not to. It's just such a good movie. As a band student, I took a lot away from this movie. It really just resonates with me how determined Andrew is to work for it, and I think I might have a little bit of bias since I've been a band student, because I watched it with Wesley. And he's a musician, but he's never been in band, and he didn't take as much away from it as I did. However, even if you're not a musician in any sense, you never picked up a musical instrument in your life, I still think you're really going to enjoy Whiplash. Well, Dave Chazelle, he's directed La La Land, Grand Piano, 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's just, he's an incredible director. This movie is shot incredibly well. Every nuance of suspense he adds is just so effective in creating suspense and just such a thrill in the audience. This is truly my favorite film because of the suspense and just how it resolves. I love this film so much. I could watch it a lot, like over and over again all the time, and I would not mind. It's just such a good film. I definitely suggest you watch it, whether you're a musician or not. Please go check this movie out. That is my number one pick for my favorite movie.
Okay, so my number one all-time favorite film is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's so many things I could say about this movie. It would take twice the time to make this video just to talk about this one film. I love it so much. I love everything about it. Again, I have an immense love for horror. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the epitome of horror to me. I love the grittiness of the filming. Tobe Hooper did a phenomenal job directing. Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface, Marilyn Burns as Sally. Some of the best acting I've ever seen in a horror film to date. I've seen it 4 or 5 times, and I could watch it 5 or 6 more, and I'd still just love it just as much as the first time I saw it. It's so surreal. I think that's where the horror really comes from, but I'm kind of digressing here. But it's just all around so entertaining to me. I love it. It's, to me, the ideal horror movie. And it's just so entertaining. I love it to death. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you have to watch it.
So that was our top 5 favorite list for each one of us. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. And also, let us know what's your top 5 favorite films ever. Let us know in the comments down below. We are very interested to hear what you guys have to say and what you think about our movie list and what you would change and all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike. And I guess we will see you guys next time. My name's Thomas.
I'm Wesley.
And this is Poncho. And thank you guys for watching this video. See you next time. Peace.